Morning folks, welcome to another adventure in Westy Travels. Well, today we're actually going to be filming in another country. It's not that exciting, it's nothing tropical or anything. We're actually heading down to England, and what we're going to do is we are going to stay over and do a hike along Hadrian's Wall and visit the ancient Roman fort of Vindolanda. But we've just stopped off here for a coffee after getting up at silly o'clock and driving for the first hour in the dark. And I like to stop at this service station in the M74 heading south, as my wee friends are always here. They just hang about this service station for some reason. It's really bizarre because most of the time as you come off the junction, you end up having to stop and there's just geese walking about the place for some reason. So I'll just give you a quick view of my wee friends there. How bizarre is that, just to have like this gaggle of geese, I believe it's called, just hanging about at a service station, eh? They're much like their McDonald's. Anyway, we'll catch you soon when we get down to Vindolanda and Hadrian's Wall, and we'll speak then. Morning folks, hope you're all well and happy after New Year. Today we've driven down from Scotland into England and the county of Northumberland, and specifically over to one of the old Roman forts on Hadrian's Wall called Vindolanda. It's one of the best preserved and well excavated Roman forts on Hadrian's Wall, and it is absolutely massive as a site and well worth a visit. It was actually situated here about 25 miles west of Newcastle before Hadrian's Wall was fully constructed and guarded the old Roman road here. And in fact, it's actually been demolished and rebuilt over 9 times. And due to the local soil, where air can't get to artefacts, when they started digging here in the 1930s, it was an absolute treasure trove. Absolutely amazing fort this, and I'm lucky enough that because I've came on a Friday morning in the middle of winter, there was only another couple of people here and they've left now, so I've got it all to myself, which is even better because you can take your time and you can walk around and have a good explore. I was just reading there that, as you can see from the aerial footage, it is absolutely massive. I live very close, just like a few miles away from the Antonine Wall, and you go and see the forts there and they're very, very small, where this is absolutely massive and must have been so impressive in its day. But they know now from archaeological digs that there was 8 previous forts, so the last of them was 5 metres beneath the surface of what's here just now, and they've estimated it was 3 times bigger than the stone structure was here, because it was obviously timber before. An absolute massive fort, and there must have been some amount of soldiers here. I wonder why they needed them. Was it to keep us heathen Scots away from them and all their booty? So what we're going to do is we're going to take a walk around the fort and explore it, look at some of the structures, and then there's a lovely cafe down in the gully by a wee sort of stream and river, and the museum will take a tour around that. So let's go. This is a cool little recreation they've built of a Roman temple. I'm thinking about doing my living room like this, quite cool. It's where they've situated the replica temple and the museum and cafe. So Vindolanda itself is up on a plateau facing towards Hadrian's Wall, whereas just 200 yards down there's a hillside and a path that takes you down into like a little kind of gully or grove, and there's a lovely little stream kind of sitting right by the temple, you can see there. So it allows you to sit up at the cafe, which if I turn round is just over there, and you can have a coffee and just, I mean, this is winter time, but in summertime with all the trees in full bloom, it is absolutely stunning. And I tell you, well worth a visit if you've got a spare sort of bit of time and you want a day out. Come to Vindolanda, check the museum out. I mean, the fort itself spectacular, the size of it, but the artifacts in the museum are absolutely stunning. And in fact, I believe they found wooden writing tablets here, clay tablets, still well preserved, like hundreds and hundreds of them. And it's the oldest recorded writing when they first discovered it in Britain to that date. Absolutely fantastic. You can tell, like, my history. So here we are on Hadrian's Wall. Where we've started is a place called Wall End Crags, I believe it's called. It's a nice wee scenic area. You can park your van up for the night. It's kind of a lovely wee area. It's meant to be a bit wet later on, so I only spent a couple of hours over at Vindolanda Fort, and then I just drove about 6 miles west to this Wall End Crags or whatever it's called, and it's literally a short 5-minute walk, if that, and then it's a public path and it takes you up onto Hadrian's Wall. And plan is to start hiking along it, get up high and a bit more remote where it's private. I was wanting to spend a little bit more time at Vindolanda, but I was in the cafe at the museum and I seen it was going to be pissing down as usual. Even when a Scotsman goes to another country, brings the rain with him, but never mind. So the plan is that I'm going to go up onto the high crags on Hadrian's Wall and we'll just hike along and we'll find a nice bit to camp on for the night. We'll set the tent up and hopefully get there before the heavy rain comes in. So originally I'd pitched my tent at one of the Mayo castles because it's sheltered with 4-sided walls, even though they're low, and it's nice and flat in there. But back in Scotland, we're allowed to wild camp wherever we want, really, within reason, as long as you're not interfering with people's business. But here in England, it's regulations everywhere. And I just once I'd pitched the tent, I kind of felt a wee bit uncomfortable because you're high high up, exposed, and although there's nobody around, there is farmers' houses and it's farmers' land around here, and the last thing you want is it starting to rain and it getting dark and some farmers come and telling you to move on. Just kind of not used to it being Scottish. So just further down the hillside, I found this location and it's cracking. If it's meant to be a nice day tomorrow, it's going to be stunning to wake up to, because I'm right at the edge of a cliff. Now it's lucky I'm not drinking tonight because it's quite a sheer drop, as you can see if I take you over here. This is the tent over here, and if I take you here, you shall see it's a bit of a sheer drop off a cliff. So we really don't want to be doing any sleepwalking during the night, but it's still daylight and the rain's not came in yet, so that's ideal. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sort of get all my stuff into the tent. I was leaving it as long as possible in case anybody sort of came along, but just trying to time it with the rain so I don't get pulled up for it. And hopefully, as you can see from behind me, the tent here has got a kind of a little rise behind it, so I'm kind of out of view of anybody unless they're walking along Hadrian's Wall itself, you know, and that's more likely to be other hikers rather than kind of any national park person or anything, you know. But I'll basically get all my stuff done now. I'll get my camping mat blown up and my sleeping bag in and get settled in before it gets dark, and we'll get some dinner, and then it's settling in for a long night, and hopefully there's not a big storm coming from the north, because I'm kind of exposed here. But sometimes it's worth it just for the views, you know, and weather says there's not meant to be anything wild and it's kind of meant to get a bit nicer, and it's a 4-season tent, so it's quite bomb-proof for high winds, you know. Like I say, I've just got to be careful with that cliff edge that I don't get out in the middle of the night for a pee, and you know, a pee in a big fall is what would happen. So I'll leave you for now and I'll go and get all my stuff set up and I'll speak to you in a little bit. Well, that's me all set up now at my new campsite. And I'm so glad I did it. Literally about 10 minutes after I moved the tent and repitched it, about 5 people with cameras came up, and they'd obviously hiked up from Greenhead, and just the nature of Hadrian's Wall, it's one of the Mayo castles they actually wanted to get some photographs of, so I don't think they're doing too pleased to see a Scotsman with his tent right in the middle of it. So I'm pleased sometimes common sense takes hold of myself once in a blue moon, and I decided to move to a more private spot with a better view, where I'm not going to be kind of interfering with people's days. So we're all set up now in the tent. We've got a mat up and a sleeping bag. It's getting late on. This so-called heavy rain hasn't came to anything, so in one sort of hand it's good news because I can chill out and just enjoy the view, and I'll get a wee coffee in the go soon. But on the other hand, I could have hiked a lot further. It's just the last few trips I've been away, it's been pouring every single day on it, and I've been setting the tent up in the pouring rain, and you just, you know, you get that way, you can't be bothered with it sometimes. You want to set up in the dry so you're nice and comfortable and you can enjoy a bit of daylight. So it ended up, I didn't hike that far, but I'll maybe, if it's a nice day tomorrow, just the nature of winter camping, it gets dark around 4 o'clock, so it's a long time in a tiny little one-man tent. You know, I've got my book with me, I've got my phone, there's a signal here, so I can maybe watch a bit of Netflix and do a bit of reading and just relax and enjoy my dinner. But what happens is you end up waking up about 4 or 5 in the morning. And again, I'll just probably get up and read, wait for a bit of daylight. And then my plan is to hike further on Hadrian's Wall, and we'll take in some of the views. I'm really hopeful it's a cracking morning, because there's nothing better than waking up on a cliffside with sort of panoramic views and stuff. It's just fantastic. Well, that's darkness now came on. The tent's totally surrounded by mist and it's dark. The rain didn't really come to anything at all. So I've just been reading my book for the last hour and a half. And since it's not raining anymore, I've put the meths burner on and I'm boiling some water. And tonight's dinner, tonight's feast, in fact, is we are going to have taco bowl from a company called Real Tarmac, which online reviews say is very tasty. So it's basically just the taco mix. And what we're going to do is I've got some small white pita breads, the pita pockets, so we can open them up. And I'm going to mix in the taco bowl and the chili cheddar slices with it in the pita bread. It should be nice and tasty. So I'm looking forward to this. Morning, campers. Oh, it's a cold morning this morning on Hadrian's Wall, I tell you. Got a good night's sleep last night. Just read my book for a while after dinner and kind of watched some movies on Netflix a wee bit and fell asleep about 10 o'clock at night, I think. Woke up this morning about 5 o'clock. It's quite funny because I went to sleep listening to a true crime podcast with my headphones on, and it just played one after the other, next episode, all night long. Didn't keep me awake at all, and it's when the batteries in the headphones ran out that actually woke me up. But I've just checked the temperature, it's about -2 just now. It's about 20 to 8 in the morning, and you can see over my shoulder the sun's just coming up. And I was expecting a really nice clear day. It might turn out that way, but just now it's just me. I don't know if you can see over that shoulder. I don't think you can. Just me and hundreds of sheep in a field behind me. But it's certainly not a clear day just now. If I take you back down to the tent, I'm just up in a rocky outcrop above where my tent is. And keeping in mind we're only 6 feet from the cliff edge. But you'll see in a second. It's starting to brighten up now a little bit with a bit of light coming in, so it's not so bad. Oh, just tripping over a guy line, not good. But that's my tent, obviously just right there. If I turn round, that's the cliff edge there. And that's the great view I have this morning. But you can see as I turn round, the sky's looking absolutely lovely coming up there, so I'm hoping for a good day today. But for now, I think it's time to get the kettle on and get some heat into me. So I came out for a wee walk there this morning and it is absolutely frozen. A nice wee coffee, and I've got a nice breakfast with me this morning. I'm trying the Wayfarer's full breakfast thing where it's not a rehydrated meal, it's the wet meal. So we'll boil that in the bag so we don't make a mess and get some heat inside of us. And by the time we have that, hopefully the sun's up and it's a nice day. Speak soon. Check this out, guys. This is why I come solo camping to areas like this that a lot of people would think, oh, I'm not doing that, camping by a cliff edge. And I missed the cold January morning, but the sky behind me is absolutely fantastic. It's got a nice orange coming over the hill and the fog and the mist starting to clear. Look at that there. Absolutely stunning. You can just make out the cliffs there just further round from me to the right. And down there, I think they call it a little tarn, a little lock-in. is down there, but I don't think you can see it. So I've just enjoyed a nice warm coffee, warmed myself up, and had my all-day breakfast, which was a boil in the bag meal. It was actually quite pleasant and stuff, nothing spectacular. You'd be upset if you were paying 15 quid for that in a kind of restaurant, but it wasn't too bad at all. I just love waking up to days like this. You can see the mist is starting to get burnt off by the sun, what sun there is, you know. And I'm going to dry the tent off just now, start putting my stuff away. I usually bring a little cloth with me just to, although it wasn't raining during the night, it was really cold and there was a lot of kind of condensation and mist, so the tent's soaking wet, so I like to give it a little dry, even though I'll take it out of the bag and dry it off when I get home. That's us all packed up now. If anything, it's get even colder. I was hoping to fly the drone over the campsite there, but by the time I had breakfast, the sun had went behind sort of clouds and the mist had got deeper and stuff, so the temperature dropped as well. I normally try and dry the top of my tent, but I noticed when I went to do it, a lot of it was just ice with it, so it was a case of let's just get this packed away, get as many layers on as we can, start hiking, and that way we'll soon warm up, because I've got 2 down jackets on, so I think they'll be coming off shortly. I'm a Scotsman, I can't handle the heat of that, so we'll basically hike a few miles over to Thirwell Castle anyway, and get some footage in. Hopefully over that side of the valley the mist has cleared a wee bit, because just now you can see if I turn round, you've got visibility, but once you start getting over kind of 30-40 feet and stuff like that, it's kind of really misty. And even here I chose to film here just because I'm in a bit of a dip and the mist is a bit clearer. So I'll catch you soon. Well, that's me heading down off Hadrian's Wall just now. I'm back to the van, then the castle. But I thought I'd tell you a few wee interesting facts about Hadrian's Wall in case you didn't know anything. So Hadrian's Wall runs 73 miles from the east coast over to the Solway Firth in the west coast. The wall, when it was finished, was just under 5 metres tall and 3 metres wide, and it was, although there was earlier versions and there was forts there, it was when obviously with the name Hadrian's Wall, it was when the Emperor Hadrian came into power that he decided to bring the borders back in, and rather than being expansionist, they started putting up walls like Hadrian's Wall and, you know, your wall and your Rhine and various things just to contain the barbarians That would be us heathen Scots, Picts back then. It was in use for a good 400 years, and there's evidence that after the Romans left, a lot of the larger forts like Vindolanda and some of the other ones were still in use for hundreds of years afterwards with it. But it was at times abandoned when, during that 400 years occupation in the wall, they pushed further north and kicked the Picts' ass at the Battle of Mons Grampus. They're not quite sure where that battle was, but according to the Romans, who never lied about anything, they inflicted a heavy defeat in the Scots, or the Picts back then, and basically created a new frontier on the Antonine Wall, which runs from over the Clyde Valley right across to the east coast and the River Forth. And that's still there today, although only in small sections of it. So it's been a good night's camping. Very, very chilly. Get colder as the morning went on this morning, but once you start hiking, you're absolutely roasting within about 5-10 minutes, especially when you're going up and down hills with it. And I can't wait to get back to the van and strip off some layers. And what I'll do is I'll just ditch my backpack there, I think, and we'll just walk to the castle. I think it's only maybe a mile or something like that, you know, so it's not too far. We'll just hike there without the backpack. No point carrying it when you don't need to. Here's a nice wee pond I've came across here. A wee ducky doo-doos swimming around. So all in all, I've had a fantastic trip. Came down in the dark hours, the wee small hours yesterday morning. Got here, visited Vindolanda after that, and had Vindolanda to myself for the first hour, which was absolutely fantastic. When I was there in the summer, there was hundreds of people there. And then after that, we've came up onto Hadrian's Wall. Didn't hike too far last night because the forecast was saying there was heavy rain due in at 2 o'clock. And although it's not a problem putting your tent up in the rain, it's more fun if you can do it when you're dry and you can cook your dinner and get your sleeping bag in nice and dry rather than fighting the weather. So after that, the rain just came to nothing. There was a couple of showers and that was it for about 5 minutes. But never mind, had a great night camping with some great views this morning. I got up and that sun coming up, and even though it was very misty, you could see it burning off. It was fantastic. And that's why I do these kind of things. You're never ever guaranteed to get good views and great weather, but you've just got to keep going out, and then eventually you're rewarded for it. So I'm hiking now over to Thirwell Castle from off Hadrian's Wall. It's about a mile, 3/4 mile, a mile to it, along an embankment. But I take it, I don't know if you can see here, if I show you it there, you're seeing a big deep ditch running all the way towards the castle downhill. So I take it that's been the original ditch of Hadrian's Wall. So this, my friends, behind me is Thirwell Castle. It was a 14th century castle built by Sir John Thirlwall to protect his family and lands from raiding Scots north of the border. It's quite a cool castle in the sense of, way back in the 14th century they didn't know the word green and recycling, but they certainly did that, because what they did was, you're literally right on Hadrian's Wall here, and they just stole and plundered all the stone and demolished the Hadrian's Wall to build the castle. You can understand it, rather than spending years and the cost of quarrying new stone. And you notice that with all the farmers' walls around here as well, all the stone is the same size and it's all dressed really sort of flat and sort of rectangular, exactly the same as Hadrian's Wall. But it was also ruination of it as well. In the 15th, 16th century, you had the constant period of the Scottish raids coming over the border. But in the 17th and 18th century, because the wall had been taken down previously around this area for the stone, that wasn't available, and the locals basically stole all the stone from the castle itself to build their houses and new walls for their farms. So it's quite a history, but we'll go and take a look at it just now, and then we'll put the drone up and get you some footage from above if we can see through this mist. As you can see from the stone here, what I was talking about, you can tell it's been plundered from Hadrian's Wall, where the stones all exactly the same all the way around the ruins of the castle. Well folks, I hope you enjoyed that episode from a very, very, very misty Hadrian's Wall. It's a pity we never had clearer weather, because there's some stunning scenes up this way, but that's just the way it is. So until next time, and as usual, if you liked the episode, please, please, please take 2 seconds out of your time to give us a like and a subscribe, because it really encourages me to head back out on these adventures. And until our next adventure, I'll bid you farewell. Bye.